Welcome to the Spill Your Guts podcast. This is Rachel and Mandi, Mandi and Rachel. Sometimes Jesse sprinkled in the middle. Ow.
Andy had to help me because I just started talking as if everyone knew what the hell was going on.
You know
already.
what? Honestly, they should. This is the Spill Your Guts podcast, which we were just discussing. We might have to change to watch us spill our guts because we're just going through a lot, okay? Hopefully it's relatable. God.
If people are actively logging on and listening to this, they know what they're in for.
They do.
I know this is only episode 2, I think technically, but they know.
Well, and listen, we have joked about just hanging, we knew we had to do this and we're hanging on for dear life, but really we're just documenting what we're discovering with each other and everyone else as we're going along. And so if you're following us along on that, you're welcome here. And if you're not, then kick rocks. Okay? We don't have time. Nobody has time. I only have so many minutes allocated in the day for crying. Okay? It's usually in the bathroom at work. Gosh.
And we warned Jesse today because you and I we kind of ghosted each other and lives in a very lovable, healthy way. The last one, we were both sick with the same sicknesses.
Of course.
Which is classic us.
Real bonding.
Hey. What's mine is yours.
And 2, we've both been going, at least I have, been going so hard on the spiritual side of things.
Yeah.
But also just jumping into things without really knowing what it is and having these big moments. And so I feel before we even talk to you, I wanted to throw out, I don't think disclaimer is the right word, a guide on how to possibly think about the weird shit we're about to talk about. Is that right?
Yes, I love that.
Some rails.
I love that. Well, because then if anybody's they're going to start getting weird and woo-woo, they can, respectively kind of, shut it down and not waste their time. And we appreciate that. that. But we're delving right in. We're delving right in because you and I both have so many crazy things to share. And I think that more people out there than we realize actually resonate with kind of what we're going through. I think a lot of people are collectively sort of encountering a lot of this stuff also, as a whole. So I feel like it's relevant. And I think that especially since you and I have been in the wellness, health / fitnessy retreat space, we kind of see more of it. We're kind of just a pinch ahead of it than everybody else, which in some ways kind of sucks because people then think that we know more than we know. But that's why we're doing this, because we are just finding a place to unpack it all and talk about it and dissect it and be honest about it, because it can get weird. And I know we've joked before of okay, is this real or am I mentally ill? Mm-hmm. But it's just becoming more and more real. And I love that we are about to share what's been going on in our lives, kind of loosely knowing, but not really. But also landing almost in the same exact place, even though we've had different experiences, which is exciting to me because I'm okay, we must be onto something, because we're kind of unwrapping these lessons and these different really hardy, things that we're sinking our teeth into. And I think it's cool and exciting and overwhelming and intimidating and weird. Okay, bye.
Well, and 2, I am actually pretty uncomfortable, really uncomfortable even sharing some of this stuff, because here's what I think. Here's if I could put this into buckets for people, because maybe it's helpful. I don't know. Maybe it's not. But where I'm at with the spiritual side, 1, I've been going to these experiences, not asking enough questions or knowing what the hell I'm getting into, and basically getting spiritually ambushed over the last 2 months.
That's interesting though. That brings up,
but also just going all in.
Yeah.
And after our last episode, I kind of challenged myself, you know what? I've never really gone all in. What would happen if I do? Like, what would happen if I started attending all this weird stuff and trying things that I in the past would have been like, okay, that's nice for them, but it's not for
No,
me.
I think that's a perfect segue because last time you talked about how, like, okay, you had kind of come face to face with your edge. You were sharing
Yes.
that you had bumped up against it, right? And that you had realized, like, I've never really, like, gone all the way and, like, seen what this whole thing's about. So is that what you're about to tell me, that you've, like, stepped over the threshold?
Yeah, bitch, I'm in it.
Let's go. Tell me hold on, let me get this crock. Let me prop this crock up
Get
on my
your
knee.
Crocs ready. Because here's what I keep
Lay it
thinking
on
about.
me.
Especially the last few months, I like no longer can not go in because more often than not, like 60%, which is still the majority, like 60% of the time when I go in all in or I'm attending these like woo woo out there things, like shit happens. Like I can no longer deny that it's not real in some capacity because of the thing that happens next, or like the dots that connect, or the people that suddenly show up in my life, or the opportunities.
Dude, and don't you feel like once you start, like, paying attention and seeing that, it just, like, doesn't stop?
Yes.
It's just one after another.
Yes.
And I always joke, and you've heard me say this, like, all summer, but I always joke, like, the universe won't take its foot off my neck. Like, it's just one thing after another after another. And then I saw this meme where it was like this kid and he's got a boot on his neck and it's like, ah. And then in the next frame, it's like he's holding his own boot to his neck because it's you. And I was like, damn it.
That's exactly what
Right?
it is. Because I keep thinking, like, I keep trying to like disprove it.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff I no longer can. And so here's what I think. Like, here's where I'm at. Either it's all real, which that's a possibility, or it's a way similar. This is no like against anyone, but similar how I feel about religion. It's like a tool that we use to make sense of what the hell is happening on earth.
Sure.
Like, why am I here? What is my purpose?
Finding meaning in a way that feels comfortable to you.
Yes,
That's
because
not-
a lot of days,
Like, not necessarily religious.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of days I don't feel like there's meaning. And that doesn't like make me sad. I just like, oh, okay, we're just like got biologically lucky and then we're here and that's fine. Like, why do we have to have a purpose? Right.
Yeah.
But then I started thinking in my time of sickness and ghosting, like, what if I'm actually using this as a tool because I don't trust myself?
Ooh.
And I'm like looking for some kind of validation, confirmation to do, act, speak, think on what I already know is true. I just like don't trust myself.
Whoa.
So like that hit me last week and that fucked me up.
See?
That fucked my shit up.
It's you're holding the boot to your neck. It's you.
That's
It's like
what
the
it
end.
is. Or
Like every
right,
day is the end of Scooby Doo, where it's like they take the mask off. It's me again. Damn.
because I just can't deny some of this stuff
Well,
anymore.
okay, so tell me-
And so
Really quick, I'm sorry. I'm interrupting. For our listeners out there who like are curious, right, about like retreat stuff, and when we say woo woo, like what are we talking about? Let's break that down for like maybe the peeps who haven't like swam into that world with us yet. How would you describe or define woo woo to you? And then I'll share mine.
for me, it really is like if I kind of always break us up into body, mind, spirit, it's the spirit side.
Yeah, okay.
It's things that we can't explain. It's like when you meet someone you've never met in your life and you just feel so drawn to them. And you don't know why, and like you have an instant connection.
Yeah.
Like it's like that space in between. Like it's
The knowing.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
the knowing.
Yeah.
That's what it is for me.
And for me, I would agree with that. And I feel like when I say woo woo, it's a kind of a way that I can safely put all of this experience and like the conversation under an umbrella that's safe, that kind of like is like, for lack of a better description, it's like an eject button. because I actually come from, so you're talking about, okay, we're going to get uncomfortable. We're going to share some stuff. We're going right in. I come from a religious slash evangelical Christian background. I was a youth pastor for 10 years in another lifetime ago, which was very foundational for me in my like spiritual, foundation. But my beliefs have definitely evolved past that. And I think that for me to just say, oh, that's all my woo-woo stuff, I can kind of like put it behind the curtain and not have to deal with like, what comes when you exit a culture of belief, right? That I know a lot of people resonate with out there, So for me, it's actually like a way I've been hiding a little bit by using the terms woo-woo. Ooh. Hit me with that revelation sound. But it's a way of like kind of being able to say, oh yeah, I do all this retreat stuff, I do this fitness stuff and all this woo-woo stuff, which I believe like you, it represents mind, body, spirit, soul stuff. It's the spiritual things. So when we're talking about you guys like these experiences, we're talking about like going to like a meditation group or like experiencing breath work, learning like breath work from a practitioner, like with other people, or maybe a guided meditation with people. Like there's different like community sort of things you can go to connect with people who are also into woo-woo stuff. And so I think that's what Rachel's talking about when she's talking about like, okay, I'm diving into and I'm doing all these different experiences and this and that. And when I talk about woo-woo, that's what I mean too. And I also mean like, doing guided meditations instead of prayer. Using tarot and different card decks for my own personal prayer and meditation time, which is super controversial. I was just with some old friends a couple weeks ago when I was in the Bay Area, and people I knew from way youth pastor times ago, and we've all evolved together as friends. So I have no reason to have felt fear talking about that stuff, but sure enough, I did. I found myself getting all weird about it. Ooh. And feeling, but I feel like if this is where the place where we're being honest about all the things, spilling our guts, right? Mm-hmm. That is totally on theme with everything going on in my life right now. Like I have been so challenged to release any of that stuff I've been clinging to, any of the curtains I've been hiding stuff behind, any little thing that I've got like stowed away that I haven't wanted to face, deal with head on, I feel like has been pulled out in front of me. So that's where I'm at. But I want to get back to you having these crazy experiences and sharing your takeaways from that. And then we can get back, we can just ping pong.
So like what you just said too is where I'm at is like I didn't really know I had stuff to get out or let go, or I always think of like letting go. You never stop. Like yeah, no. It's you do it forever, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. And I thought I'd kind of released a lot of stuff, beliefs, thoughts, feelings, and in the last couple months I've gone to. So the first thing that I went to. Was recommended by Holly, and that's the second thing I went to that she ran.
Shout out Holly.
Holly is local here. She's incredible. She's a deep, real, authentic healer. Mm-hmm. And she suggested that I go to this breathwork detox, which I didn't know anything about, run by a guy named Curtis Lee Thomas, I believe. He's an author. He's written a few books. And I thought it was going to be like a meditation, like and of course you're down like, regulation of your nervous system.
And you've been big on the breathwork thing, especially in your corner of fitness. So of course this would be something you'd be like, yes, I'm going.
Totally. And I mean, I'm even certified in breath work, but more for it's performance breathing. So like as an athlete, how can we help you breathe better to do more? Right. So I was interested. And then a few days leading up to it, I asked some friends to go, and they were like, yeah, we don't want to go to that again. And I was like, what?
Really?
Tell me more. Like, I just don't think I could do it again. And I was like, okay. And all of them were super weird about, they're like, we'll let you decide, like you judge.
Oh no.
Like, I just don't have like the strength for it.
What?
And of course, here comes my ego. I'm like, well, I'm pretty strong.
You're like, I'll be
So
the
I'll be
judge of
fine.
the. You're like, a little
So-
breath won't hurt me, Curtis.
Oh my God. So I got in there and immediately I was really uncomfortable. There was too many people for me. I was shoulder to shoulder.
Oh wow.
You had to
Okay.
lay down and like literally my feet were touching the person in front of me. Like I just was like, I almost left many times.
Okay. I feel that.
And then he started talking, and so I went to, what's strange about me is I went to a Catholic middle school, high school, and college, but I have never believed in God ever, even since I was little. And I had like a lot of shame around that because I was like, I felt weird or like I couldn't talk about it. Nature like gave me that like feeling, like feeling connected to
Something bigger and all. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Space and stars, but like I've never bought into it. And so I went there and he was he reminded me of like a spiritual drifter, like a very stereotypical, and this is not like judging anything, but like if you saw a movie about like an evangelical preacher who was up there trying to like convert people, that was the energy.
It was a whole vibe. Okay.
So also didn't like it. Like did not like, I was like, fuck this guy. I'm going to sit through this thing and maybe I'll learn something, right?
Right.
And so he kind of warns you. He gives you very brief intro on like the breathing technique, which is super simple. You breathe in as hard as you can to your belly and then into your chest and then let it out at a regular cadence. That's it. That's all it is. And he warned everyone that, hey, even after a few minutes in, expect your body to cramp up and seize, tingling, sweating.
Really?
He like forewarned us about all this stuff. And of course, me in the back, I was already a sass mouth because I was like, I don't like this. There's too many people. I don't like this guy's energy. And also, I am literally certified in breathing. This isn't going to happen to me. Like, I have control over my own body, sir.
Yeah. You're like,
And so we
Oh my
all lay
gosh.
down. He like turns the music way up because it's like audible breathing, right?
okay.
Which is a whole another thing. I was like, well, here,
COVID.
COVID is no more in this place.
So what droplets?
And I would say in less than 2 minutes, I experienced all of it. Everything, my feet cramped, my legs cramped, my hands cramped up in fists. My jaw, I had to go to nasal breathing because my mouth cramped shut.
What?
I couldn't move. I could not fucking move. I was frozen. And I started like panicking a little bit. Like my nervous system was like, get out of here. I literally couldn't, even if I wanted to, because I couldn't move. So I was just stuck there. And so
What were you thinking? Like what was going on like mentally?
I was I ditched the breathing so I could uncramp and leave. That was my plan.
Okay.
So
Well,
I just
yeah,
returned
coming
regular
from
breathing.
somebody who like spends a lot of time being embodied and sort of like being so aware and mindful of like your body and space and, you know, like as a coach, I'm sure that was super uncomfortable for you.
Hated it. I didn't feel safe in my own body. My body was betraying me.
Interesting. Whoa.
I
Okay.
had no control. So I was trying to uncramp so I could exit as soon as possible. That was the plan. And meanwhile, the room started stirring up and people were screaming and freaking the fuck out. Freaking the fuck out. So, and then the empath in me started losing its shit because I was hearing and feeling this collective horror. Like it sounded like a zombie movie. Like if people were like trapped and there was like a zombie running through the room.
Wait, okay, so where's the part where it turns good? Because I'm very concerned. Like I will write a fiery email immediately. What are we doing?
I'm freaking out. But then I had a moment I was like, okay, you're here. You can't move anyway.
You got to kind of like surrender to this.
I literally thought of you. I literally wanted you to be next to me the whole time. Because
Bitch, if I was next to you, we'd be giggling and getting in trouble.
It took me back to the point when we heard the spiritual voice, which we can
Yes.
talk about in a minute too, where I needed to turn and I needed you to, I needed you. I thought about you the whole time. Like,
I wish I could have been
really was in
there.
a full panic.
My
So
poor
that
little.
I heard you say, like, stay on earth in your body.
I would have said that
like-
too.
Fuck, Mandy, you stupid. So I stayed. And I had a few moments in that that were, I cannot explain. And this is where this started. So I was crying, but not like I was upset. It was just coming out.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was thinking a lot about my dog too. I didn't realize I hadn't like let her go. I was just crying. But I had a moment. So, and we can post this on our stories on our Instagram about, I've been freaking out all year about the telescope, the new telescope that we shot into space that now and then shot into the natural telescope of space where we could now see 1 billion universes
Right.
in a speck of like the size of a speck of sand.
Right,
That's
it's just like
30 billion years into the past or some
Just
shit.
infinite captured infinites.
So for whatever reason, I started thinking about that. And this is classic me. When I meditate, I get sucked out into space. I just go and I'm floating around and it's quiet and it's lovely. So I got sucked out. I had this vision where I got sucked out and essentially like connected with all the other Rachels in all the other billion
Stop.
universes in the world.
Stop you. You met all your Peter Parkers? You met all your Peter Parkers.
Yes, that's what it was. And I don't
Bitch.
like sharing this because it sounds so
No,
fucking weird.
no,
but
it's-
this was the reality. And almost like gave a rally call to all the Rachels.
Wow, dude.
Like it
Rachel.
was like, hey, Rachel's like, we gotta fuck shit up. Like, I don't know what you're doing, but like this isn't like we gotta figure this shit out. We don't have much time. I had just
Whoa.
like a moment.
Whoa, that's so powerful.
I try not to chime in that much, but in my one experience with breathwork, I went through the same thing.
Really?
Wow.
Where, yeah, you just go in this weird space for it took me about 30 minutes in the process, and then I was like, where am I? Like,
Yeah.
what am I thinking about? What my head's getting into like 5-year-old
Yes.
childhood
Yeah,
issues.
see? Remember? We're not time travelers, man. As crazy as I know you feel like saying this out loud, there are, I believe in my heart, more people who hear this stuff and go, oh my gosh, yes. Like, this makes sense. I don't know why I can't explain it, but like in my body, I'm like, yes. And so when you walked away from it, were you glad? First off, were you glad you stayed? Were you glad you stayed in it?
I'm glad I stayed. I would never do it again. There were many people in that room that go to all of his events, that read all the books. Never. I was that uncomfortable. Never again.
That's so interesting. But
But
the takeaway was worth staying.
The takeaway was worth staying because I let some stuff go, which ended up kind of like coming up in this drum ceremony that I went to last week with Holly. But the next day I woke up and I'm like, I'm going to disprove this motherfucker. Like, I'm going to find out the science and know exactly why my body did that and all the things.
Yeah.
As
That's
a-
how
as a
I get into the
trainer.
most trouble, actually, of like all the things I go to like seek out to disprove. And then I'm like, oh my God, it's real. Oh no.
Yeah, and I couldn't find much other than, and Holly kind of confirmed it too. You do go, essentially, you throw yourself into hyperventilation in a controlled, safe environment. But because of can't remember if it's the lack of oxygen or CO2, because of that, it is similar, like what we were just talking about, to almost like taking some kind of plant medicine. It's a similar effect that you can do with other hallucinogenics and other things, but it's natural and you can do it anywhere. Because I literally the next day, I was so pissed. Remember, I was so mad.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna bust this guy. He's out there fucking people's shit up. Like, so I just laid on the ground to see if I could replicate replicate it.
Right.
And I could, it was a breathing thing. But it's fucking real. Like, there are things that you can do with your body, totally equipped as you are, and elevate yourself into a different level to connect with whatever you need to connect with. Let go. Past lives. That was a whole nother thing that's happened to me in the last few months that I really don't want to talk about. But I also cannot deny these stories that are coming up.
Right. Well, I think you're hitting something, and of course, we're probably going to have to, like, we're going to have to branch off into, like, different episodes about all these different things. But you said something, I can't remember if it was on the podcast or if it was at a retreat we were at this summer, but you said something crazy that I think it was at a retreat that I wrote down. And it was something like, we're in these ancient bodies and we're learning. What can you tell me what you said? I know you know what I mean.
Yeah, we are ancient bodies in a modern world.
Yeah.
But like we're not evolved like we think we are, because we have technology and like you and I are talking on microphones through Zoom, but our bodies are still where they've always been. They're not that advanced.
And when you were talking about that, you were talking about it in like you were teaching about nutrition, and like when you said that, it just like hit me, and I was like, whoa, that's like a really big deal what you just said, because we are in ancient bodies that we, like, you're just saying this whole thing about the breath and like using the breath to tap into like different like parts of our our neurology basically. And like if you go really down those kinds of rabbit holes, you will find 100%, this is not like suggested, but like proven, that people can like find ways to heal their bodies by like tapping into different like parts of their brain and belief systems and stuff. And like you're saying, it's like, it sounds so crazy that it seems silly and it's almost like embarrassing, but it's like, this is real. This is real stuff that like more and more, I feel like the momentum of like science coming in behind it, and like more and more like practitioners and like educated people with like credentialed people are starting to like buy in more and more. And it feels like we're just on the cusp of like something exciting happening, but like too freaked out to like remind ourselves that, and like
totally, that's what it is. It's like we even as a trainer, I've watched us like now reach back into our basic like ice therapy.
Yes.
Even like all that stuff, like we're reaching back to like try to figure out how do we apply this really good stuff in this new world space.
Girl.
Like it's
wild,
and
it's a good segue to share with you one of the big things that happened to me in this past couple weeks. So I'm like, ooh, now where do I start? I said good segue, and then I just jinxed myself. But okay, so one of the things that happened was that I got we joked because we both got sick with the same thing. I got really super sick last week, so we had to sorry, Jesse, we had to push off our podcasting day a week because your girl was sick.
I forgive you.
Thank you. I was certain I had COVID. Certain. I was just like, oh, the fever, the whole thing. I ended up I didn't have it. And if I did, it didn't pop up on a test, but I ended up obviously staying home, whatever. But what happened was I was sitting on, and you have to know, like, the past couple weeks since the last time we recorded, I kind of dove into this very, I think because I'd been just going hard all summer. And finally, like, was forced, new job, transitioning on top of like 900 commitments and 87 things. So I feel like my body just literally was like, okay, bitch, boop, you're done. Yeah. Just like all of a sudden, I was sitting on the couch and I was like, oh, it's really cold in here. And Mike's like, no, it's not. And all of a sudden I my teeth start chattering and I'm like, oh no. And tell me, when you get sick, do you ever feel it like activate? Like, Holy Spirit, activate. Holy Spirit, activate. I feel it, dude. I feel it the minute I'm getting sick. I fucking feel it. It like activates all of a sudden. It like comes online and I'm like, oh no, I just triggered it. It's happening. So my teeth start chattering, and I'm like, oh God, here we go. And I'm like lying to myself for like 15 minutes. I'm like, no, it's fine. I just gotta warm up. Everything's fine. No, I drag my ass into the shower. I'm like scalding hot as possible, freezing still, right? I get out of bed, or I jump out of the shower, get into bed. I'm piled under like 7 blankets, still cold. And I'm in my head. I went into this whole like weird, like mental place because my body, this sounds so dramatic, but I'm telling you, it was like super real. I almost was like afraid I had a panic attack or something. My body like locked up. My teeth were chattering so hard. I was like locked, like my fists were like locked, and I was just, everything was like flexed. And it was like that for like 30 minutes. To the point where I was laying in bed, teeth chattering, so cold, body just locked, that I literally was like telling myself, the body knows what to do. The body knows what to do. Like, surrender, like, go back to your breath. The body knows what to do. I literally, it sounds so stupid now, but I thought I was going to die. I was like, this is it. Like, this is it. The body knows what to do. And just like surrendering myself to it. And so it sounds dramatic, but like what you were just sharing about your breathwork experience and like, you know, sort of this whole other realm that's about to open up for us, like in sort of, you know, as fitness people, like where does the woo-woo meet the body? Like we're sort of like trying to figure that out, like, right? What does this mean for us in our work and like in this world of fitness where we're, you know, trying to connect with our bodies and lead the way, right? Well, so this is like where it's at. We're meeting ourselves in these spaces. And so I thought it was interesting that my like go-to like sort of primal response was to surrender to my body. And it's like the realization, like you said, my body is ancient in its like wisdom and it's like in its assembly, like in ways that I don't even understand, like how my cells and systems like fully work to like make me get up in the morning and go do what I'm doing and have existential crises when I don't even like understand how my fucking eyeball works. Like my eyeball works. It's so weird. Like when you really start to think about it, it gets like wild to think that we don't trust our bodies and the different signs and signals. And so to that point, as I was laying there, and I'm like just telling myself over and over like a mantra, like surrender to the body knows what to do, go back to your breath, blah, blah, blah. I somehow like drifted off. I finally like kind of fell asleep, like my NyQuil hit me or something, I don't know. But I remember thinking to myself as I started to calm down and I was like trying to just like focus on like being grateful, you know, I'm going to feel better, you know, self-soothing myself. I had this like download. And when I say download, just for everybody out there who's listening who doesn't speak full Mandi yet, it's like the thoughts that come in and kind of hit you between the eyes that like aren't from you, if that makes sense. It's like guidance from elsewhere, which sounds crazy, but that's what it is. That's a download to me. So all of a sudden I get this kind of download right between the eyes that's like manifestation is that instant, is that immediate. To feel relief in your body, boom, just like that. To feel stress in your body, instantly, boom, just like that. And manifestation, all right, I'm going to put you on sound effect probation.
Every time you clap, I'm going to do it.
But manifestation is something that's like thrown around all over the place on social media. People are like, oh, I'm manifesting this, I'm manifesting that. Like, oh, here's these techniques for this, that, blah, blah, blah. And manifestation seems to like sort of like fall into this category of like, if I believe it, I can achieve it. And I can, you know, I'm going to get the house and the car and the paycheck and the things if I just like have a good enough mindset and blah, blah, blah. And I feel like that's kind of a slippery slope, right? Because that gets into like privilege and all kinds of other things.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's not real, right? But I'm just saying the way it's like tossed about can be, in my opinion, irresponsible. But the concept of manifestation and that you can sort of will something to happen just by like believing in it, right? Like that we can find ways to heal our bodies by creating new neural pathways with the way we think, right? Blah, blah, blah. We know that's true.
Yes.
But manifestation seems so whack, right? When we're talking about, and this is where I'm going to take us on a whole other area, but when we're talking about success, and I want to talk about that. Because usually manifestation falls under the umbrella of success, right? Like I want to achieve this car, this paycheck, this blah, blah, blah. And the download I received was no. The manifestation is literally as quick and simple as a breath. Why do gurus and personal development people and even fitness people and all the people we listen to talk about why gratitude is so important, right? Like a gratitude practice? Because gratitude is the only surefire way to give yourself an immediate manifestation, a physical manifestation of relief. If you're feeling a physical manifestation of anxiety.
Ooh.
I don't know if I'm making sense right now. Everybody hang with me. But it's like when you start to go down the rabbit hole and think like negatively about yourself or a situation, you immediately manifest the feelings of that in your body. I immediately feel panic, anxiety. My stomach gets in knots. I feel that like ick feeling in my guts. I start to like, my mind starts to race. I get a little like nervous and on edge, and that is a manifestation. That is a physical manifestation of what I'm thinking about. And I guess that's what I realized is like how quickly manifestation can happen just by what you're thinking about. It happens immediately physically in the body. It shows up. And then
I think about like, I used to think manifestation was kind of like that thing. What's that saying where like if you start thinking about white cars, then suddenly you start seeing white cars.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, totally.
That was me on the edge, right? Like, I mean, of course you're going to see the thing that you want to see out of the thing.
Yeah. There's a real word for that. I can't remember what it is. I'm sorry.
I can't remember what it is either. But when real though, so that's like those fluffy things, right? Like jobs, cars, all things. But like when real manifestation happens,
no, it's wild.
I mean, it's like dots connected, like boom, 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 boom to a thing.
Right. But this
like I see the trail that got me
exactly
where I was
but
thinking.
This is the download I had, because you're exactly right. My realization is that it is so instant, and I have thought all this whole time it's not, because I haven't gotten the car and the things, whatever, right? I'm like, oh, that manifestation bullshit, whatever. But no, it's so instant, and it really matters how long we stay in it, right? Because I can start thinking a thing, and instantly it manifests physically in my body first. And then if I decide to stay there, stay in that energy, stay on that frequency, stay tuned to that station, dialed in there, then it starts to show up more and more, not just physically in my body, but it might show up in my life and then my relationships. And then pretty soon I've created an entire mess, literal mess out of my life, because I have been just sitting in that and calling it in. And then the realization came to me that like as quickly, as instantly as you can feel it in your body as anxiety and sit in it and let it manifest and go like crazy, like let the momentum pick up, you can actually do the same thing in the opposite direction by stopping the momentum train with gratitude first, because that is the antidote. Is stopping and being grateful. And it gets like Abraham Hicks. I know people out there who are listening to us are familiar with Abraham. Abraham talks about, and if you're not, look it up on YouTube and we'll talk about it later. But Abraham gives this like analogy of a train, like when your thoughts and your feelings and everything is like going, and it's like on this momentum train and it's going as fast as it can in one direction. And you know that you're in trouble. That train is headed for disaster. And and some asshole tells you like, oh, just breathe. Or just, think good thoughts. And you're like, ah! But the truth is that the only thing that slows the momentum and gives you time for that train to at least come to a stop, because you can't flip the switch and just get it going in another direction, right? It has to, like if a train is going, it has to slow down, come to a stop, and then get slowly going back in the other direction. And the same is true for us. But like,
You know what this what this reminds me of? We had put down when we were kind of like coming up with podcasts or like things we might want to talk about. Do you remember you put down, and we even started talking about it too, I think at one of the retreats, like, did our ancestors, speaking of ancient bodies,
thank you so much for bringing that up. Yes, the
but
success
did our
thing.
ancestors give a fuck about success? Like,
Yeah.
did they have a word for like,
Yeah.
I hunted the most lions and
Yeah,
now I'm
I've
successful?
gathered more berries than all the bitches.
Yeah,
It's
like-
me. And then like, and then having like anxiety about not having enough like berries at the end of the day. Like, yes, thank you for bringing that up, because honestly, as I'm laying in bed, like locked up in my fever grip, right, and I'm having this whole download about like, whoa, this is crazy. Like, it kind of like embodied this whole bitter, weird couple weeks that I've had. And I realized that it came all down to like the whole revelation I had about manifestation was kind of mind blowing for me, because I had been only using it as a measure of success.
Ooh.
And I didn't realize I was doing that. And when I tell you, now listen, I'm not going to try to, how long do we have here, people? I'm sorry. You might have to listen to this in 3-4 parts. But the theme of my, like the past 3 weeks, but also like my whole year has been grief and letting go. And I saw this meme on Instagram today, actually. And I was like, oh, this is perfect for podcasting day. It said 2023 is in 3 or 4 months, and I'm still processing 2019. And I was like, oh my God, I've never seen a more like true meme. And I was kind of laughing to myself, because I was thinking, God damn, that's exactly it. Like 2019 for me, anybody out there who knows me, that's when it all, that was the grenade bomb that went off in my life. That and I'm realizing I'm still unpacking and healing and like learning from the things that have transpired since 2019, and it's all been like wrapped up in this like grief and release thing that I ultimately think is for my own freedom and good, but it does not feel that way like in the moment, right? But I was thinking to myself as I was driving over here so we could podcast together, the word that I chose I choose a word of intention each year. It started like a few years ago when I was on one of my teams, and we chose a word of intention for the year. And I was thinking of the word that I chose for this year was elevate.
Oh.
And I was like, and in the conversation of success, right? I had in my mind what that was going to mean for me. Like, elevate is going to mean I'm going to do this. I'm going to finally do this. I'm going to get my book published. I'm going to be like, I'm going to build this coaching business. I'm going to be out here. I'm going to prove who I am. Could
cut it off. I cut it off.
not be more opposite of the actual process that I've been through, which is the true elevation. I think it's interesting when I at the beginning of the year when I chose the word, it's like the definition involves like the pulling up of something that's been submerged underwater, almost like a baptism. To elevate is to like bring up out of, right? And I realized that like what I've had to release, the many identities and all these things I've been clinging to like desperate, right? That I've had to let go one after another, after another, is because it's like, that's the true, like I asked to be elevated.
Yeah.
And my American white consumer, capitalist idea of that meant I was going to be quote unquote successful by the way we measure it. And I've realized that like the more I clung to that, the more it was actually taken away from me, because that's not really who I am. and who I'm supposed to be. And that's weird because then what does that mean?
Well, and I think I was having I think my word for the year was power. Yeah. And
Yes.
I think I was kind of on the same wavelength. Like it turned into like, I want to feel powerful, but get ready because I'm about to say some weird things again.
Yes. That's what I came
I
for.
I've had multiple past life readings in the last few months. Again, I wasn't looking for it and asked for it. It was just like presented to me.
Yes.
And there's been two themes from all the readings, all the people. They don't know each other. They don't know me. They don't know my story. Nothing. And there were two common themes. One, in all my past lives. And again, I don't even know if I believe in past lives, okay? I know I said I jumped off the cliff into the spiritual world, but it still feels really uncomfortable to
Yeah,
talk
dude,
about.
I get that. Our rational brain is like, what are you saying?
That seems impossible. Even though I did channel all the Rachels and all the universes at the breath
That was
thing.
real.
What?
It's our ego, honestly. Our ego doesn't want to be like looking dumb. It's like we want to protect ourselves, but honestly, it's too late, bitch. We're out here.
We're out here. And yeah, and again, like that's the other thing is that these past life readings just like came up, or like some of them, like someone just started telling it to me at Holly's thing. And here were the themes. One, Brendan, who is my son, technically he's my stepson. I didn't like birth him, but he has been my son. A child, a boy has appeared in all of my past lives, and we have cared for each other. So that was the first thing.
Oh, shout out Brendan.
Shout out Brendan, which was also freaky because my mom had a psychic a few years ago who knew nothing either and said the same fucking thing.
See?
Okay. And the other theme was in all of my past lives, the battle that I've had to like face and go through. The number one thing was having some kind of gift exploited by men in power.
Whoa. Hello.
Yeah.
You know
And
what?
if
Wait,
you
before you go
remember-
on, I want to say
ahead.
I'm super proud of you for sharing that because it's like really vulnerable because like, look, we could not even try to prove whether or not that's real or not, right? We just can't. That's one of those mysteries. But even if it is or isn't, it doesn't matter because the theme is still relevant.
Yeah.
And I feel that's so interesting because in parallel to you, so is mine, right?
Yes. Yeah, because that's what I was getting at. When you said that, I was like, here we fucking are in this current life, still not letting go of things that have been trends throughout our entire timeline.
And for you, it's been the power struggle, right? Has been the theme.
Yeah.
For me, it has been suppressing.
Yes.
And all the different, little past livey things or different themes that have come up for me, the theme is always the same. It is when will you stop making yourself smaller?
Yes.
For the comfort of others. When will you stop absorbing all the little tiny, violent acts towards you via word or deed? When will you finally stand up and protect, the little you that deserved to be protected? When will you stop swelling, bitch, with the things that you don't say out loud? Like that's been the theme. And so the more I quote unquote elevate, right? It's looked not like success at all. In fact, everything that has been a measure of success has been ripped away from me. And I will say on the last podcast, I shared that, I got this new job at my love at the factory.
My favorite.
And I realized like, although I have, experienced like a lot of these really cool things I'm grateful for, like working with Mikey and all the different insights I've had. Part of my like sort of disappearing off the face of the earth the past few weeks has been because this is hard to like admit, but I was having some shame around it. I was really struggling. I think it's important to share that, especially because a lot of people I haven't like even talked to in my life. But I was like having some real shame around it, and it was And it's important to say this for a couple reasons because of who's listening out there. Look, it is hard as balls right now for everybody to just like try to make money and like pay their bills and live in this world. Particularly harder to pay your bills and have a livable income for in a genre of business that people think is luxurious. It's the first thing people cut from their lives. So coaches out there, fit trainers, people who are out there hustling to do something that they love, that they're passionate about because they know they're changing lives, and it's becoming like really, 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 really hard on you because the thing that you love is turning into like an entire thing that's like it's just heartbreaking, dude.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking. And so when I really came up to that threshold and realized like I have to let this go. Like I have to like let this go and go over here and get like a job to go, cuz I have to help, I have to contribute to my family. Like that's it. There's no I tried to hang on as long as possible. And when I finally was like, all right, dude, I can't do this right now. I have to let this go. And I told myself all the things like, oh, it'll be temporary, oh this, oh that. No. I literally have been grieving for like the past 3 or 4 weeks because I'm going to get emotional on the podcast. I realized I was like, I feel like a failure. I felt like I had like, and I'm sharing this because it's important because I think there's a lot of people out there who have felt the same way or feel the same way or might be like avoiding something to not feel this way so that you don't feel like alone because all we see on social media is everybody's so successful and their measure of success. And it's like, I really was hanging on to this thing because deep, deep down, I was still trying to prove my worth, my value. And I felt like being in the fitness space, talking about like weight loss was my only value. And I've released it in layers, dude. There's like so many things I've had to release in layers there, but this like final one of like, okay, this can no longer be your job, which means I'm no longer relevant in this space, which means my ego is crushed and I have to hide. Oh, that's tough, dude.
Okay, well let me ask this then because if we're ancient bodies in a modern world and our ancient bodies don't give a shit about success or didn't even have a way to like measure it, like maybe some of your struggle too is that you're this ancient body in this modern world, and so like the grieving is that you have to live in this world.
100%. 100. And I think that was the takeaway once I finally like stopped fighting it, because there was a part of me that's like, no, I'm not going to feel sorry for myself. Like, this is what we got to do. I will do what I got to do for my family. I was doing that whole thing, which we have to. We have to rally. We have to rally. Everybody out there, every single person, I don't care who you are, you are rallying your ass to get up and go to that job so that you can pay your bills and have Wi-Fi and eat Chick-fil-A. Like, we have to. We got to rally, guys. We need that Chick-fil-A. Just kidding. Not really. But that's why I was encountered with the concept of success, because really when it's all said and done, it's really not about who I'm trying to prove what to. It's really about like, oh, do I only have something to offer if I have like, a LinkedIn profile that's impressive or like, like, does it like does me like not doing this as my quote unquote job like now take away accomplishments or take away the things I'm passionate about? No. But it had to be taken away from me to understand that my value is deeper than all of that shit. And that like no matter which way I want to try to show up and look quote unquote successful, me taking all of the things I've been learning about myself and my body and my mind and my soul and my person, my essence, I can't put that into a 1, 2, 3 formula to market it and sell as like a thing, because then I feel like that's weird. And I've been grappling with that and wrestling with it because I'm like, well, but this is what I'm excited about. This is what I'm passionate about. This is what's helping people. So I have to do it this way. And I feel like the harder I've been trying to do it, the more it's been taken away from me. to like show me like, no, stop trying to do that. Like surrender. It's actually bigger and more than you can comprehend, but you keep trying to make it fit over here in this other thing because you're still trying to be relevant in fucking places you don't belong anymore. I'm still trying to prove myself to people who don't even talk to me.
Oof.
And what?
Enneagram 8 in me wants to slap you for that.
But bro, I'm being real. I'm being fucking real right now. Like if that's the truth, that's the truth. Like there is a part of me that has been trying so hard, not because of what I'm passionate about, but because of how I want to look.
Well, here's what we know. And thank you for sharing all that.
Which is why it had to be taken away, to be honest. Yeah. Which is why I had to go through this little death.
Well, and you were the one that helped me understand what happens when you hang on. You told me, and I believe this to be true, that it creates resistance.
Yeah.
And as soon as you let go, all the stuff that you've been trying to manifest, the real stuff,
yeah,
all the things that are meant for you can now flow again, right? That's how energy
the
works.
Healing, the creativity, the gratitude, the wisdom, the understanding the lessons, that's manifestation. Well, thank you for letting me share all that. I know we're gonna have to cut it off right here for now, but we're gonna follow up right away with episode 2 to keep this conversation going. But I really feel like we're just on the cusp of some big things. And like this concept of like really having to essentially release my concept of success is the beginning of me allowing myself to be elevated to the next place. And really like seeing what choosing that word of intention was going to mean for me this year, now that I've gotten the success part out of the way and had to be honest with myself about whom I was striving for, you know?
And me finally deciding to like go all in on the woo-woo has like,
you've met your real power.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. All right, let's wrap this up and take it to the next episode. I cannot wait to hear more about this.